Hi guys, my name is Natalie and I was a senior in the class of 2022, so I actually just graduated high school 6 days ago, and I've been meaning to make this video for the longest time, but this is my college decision reveal video, so I'm basically going to go through every single school I applied to and then like how I narrowed it down to where I actually decided to go, and then I'll reveal which school I'm going to in the fall. I applied to 7 schools: Washington University in St. Louis, the University of Texas at Austin, Vanderbilt University, we have the University of Georgia, University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and then Baylor University, and lastly Texas A&M. And I am a Texas resident. Because I was in the top 6% of my class, I had automatic admission to UT Austin and Texas A&M. So to start off, I just want to say what I'm looking for in a school, because I believe there are a lot of similarities that tied these schools together. The first thing I was looking for was a school that would have a reputable chemistry or chemical engineering program, and just somewhere where I could like go and get a degree from, and then right after I could get a job because of networking and alumni connections. I really kind of liked the thing that public schools had of, well, I could go there and there's going to be a lot of school spirit, there's going to be sports to get involved in, football games and all of that. And then besides that, with a big public school comes a lot of community, a lot of things to get involved in, and also a great alumni network. Even the private schools I did apply to were on the larger side. I think WashU and Vanderbilt have about 10,000 undergrads each, or like Vanderbilt is creeping its way up there, and then Baylor I think is like 15. I might be wrong. The second thing I wanted was a school that was not too expensive. So for all of these schools that offered it, I applied to some pretty major scholarship programs. Ended up getting rejected from all of those scholarship programs, but the fact that they did offer money was a huge thing. And then for UT and A&M, of course, those were my in-state schools. As I mentioned, I am a Texas resident, so the tuition was already cheaper. And then because Georgia and UNC were just like out-of-state public schools, the tuition was higher than in-state, but still not as high as Baylor or Vanderbilt or WashU to start out with. My family basically had a budget and we didn't want to like exceed that budget. The last thing was proximity to cities. So all of these are like pretty close to big cities. I grew up in a city, I grew up in the suburbs. I wanted to have that familiarity and things to do and just be close to the airport if I was going to be like flying to my school. You'll also notice I kept it to Texas and anywhere southeast. I did not go up to New England because I didn't want to be in the rain. I did not really do Midwestern schools except for WashU because I didn't want to be super cold. So the geography was also another factor. To start eliminating schools, I was actually really grateful and lucky to not be rejected by any of these institutions, but I was waitlisted by 2, and those 2 were Washington University in St. Louis, WashU, and Vanderbilt. Those are the only 2 schools I applied to regular decision. I applied everywhere else early action. So I knew the chances were pretty low. If you watched my college decisions reaction video, you'll know that I got rejected by scholarship programs at those schools, and once that happened, I knew that even if I got in, it would be too expensive to attend. So for that reason, Washington and Vanderbilt were off the list. I also want to mention that I was looking for schools where I could study music with engineering, which is a really, really rare thing. Not a lot of schools offer that, and that's why I only applied to 7 schools. There were more schools that I could have applied to that offered that, but not a ton. That's kind of another huge reason why I applied to the schools that I did. So the next school that I eliminated, it just didn't feel right. And I remember when I went there and I toured the engineering buildings, the engineering infrastructure there was just like not even close to what they had for like business or their sciences building. Also, they do not have a great engineering program, and a lot of what they do is geared towards pre-med. Ultimately, just like looking at everything overall, I would have been able to study music, but it didn't give me as much of a big name as I wanted for the non-pre-med STEM, because I am looking ultimately to be like an environmental or chemical engineer. I guess I'll just say it. The next school I eliminated was Baylor University. And Baylor, I really did like the fact that it was a Christian school, because I am Catholic, so that was like a draw. I was in the honors college. They gave me a big scholarship. It would have been basically the price of A&M and UT, a little bit more expensive, but still very doable. I knew when I stepped on the campus, it was just not my school because nothing about it excited me. And it actually is a really pretty campus, but the area surrounding Baylor, like they call it the Baylor bubble, it just wasn't the best to me because I wanted somewhere where I could like walk off campus and there would be stuff to do. The next school I eliminated was actually just kind of a very similar reason. The difference with this school is it took me so long to realize that I could never see myself there. I got into this school, I want to say like early December. I was like hooked on this school because at that point it was the most prestigious school I'd gotten into. Like everything lined up there. They had good music, they had stellar engineering. But I went to visit the campus in March, I think, and I didn't really like it. I was like, oh, maybe I'll like it later. I think it was like February, March. I visited again in April in order to like try to convince myself to like it because everything was lining up for it. But I still didn't like it, and I think it was just like the city it was in. It was almost like too city-ish, and I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean, this is just giving away the school, but it's very large, and it's in a really hot city, and I knew like, oh, I cannot see myself at all living in this city, going to this school. So I knew I had to take it off the list ultimately, and that was the University of Texas at Austin. It's a great school, and I feel like this year it was really the it school. Like so many people I know just like wanted to go there, got in, or going there. And it's really an amazing school. It has the school spirit I was looking for. It had the city location, but ultimately I felt that at UT, the more and more I spoke to people, the engineering was so rigorous that music would really be on the back burner, and I wouldn't be able to continue my music career in a way that like gave me a degree, because the Butler School of Music at UT does not offer music minors. But at the end of the day, I realized when I have 3 schools that are all reasonable prices, and one school especially that's like the same price exactly as UT, then it really does not make sense for me to be choosing a school I don't like, even if, you know, A&M overall is not as prestigious. So that's why I eliminated UT. Also, they rejected me from their honors programs, so there's that. So when it came down to these 3 schools, Texas A&M, University of Georgia, and University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, I went between these 3 schools for, I want to say like 2 or 3 weeks. There was especially like 1 week where it was like, I know it's these 3 schools, I have no idea which one to choose. Because of that, I want to go through each school and say pros and cons for each. I'll start with A&M. So A&M pro, in-state tuition, cheapest tuition out of all of these. But again, for all of these schools, I would not have had to go into debt. So it wasn't like oh, I'm going to go into thousands of dollars of debt for this one school. It was not like that for any of these. I will say it did have by far the best engineering program out of these 3 schools. They did admit me to their engineering honors program. I do like how they have a really strong Catholic community. They would have had an orchestra I could go and play in, but that brings me to the cons. They did not have any program that offered music degrees, so I would not have been able to study music as like a academic discipline in a sense. At A&M, I would have been like relegated to the orchestra. And then the other con of A&M is that it is in Texas, and I had such a desire to go out of state, to experience something different. Half the schools I applied to were out of state. Then coming to UGA. So UGA in this whole process was like the most communicative school, the nicest school. I found out about my admission and about my honors admission and about literally everything so fast. If you look at it on paper, like it's also a great school to attend. It's in Athens, Georgia, which has so many things to do for college students. The cons, on the other hand, were like quite a bit of the social culture is centered around Greek life, and I knew that was not something I wanted to be a part of. The other con was just that UGA is not known as like as academically a prestigious institution as Carolina or A&M. That being said, like an engineering degree anywhere is an engineering degree. They also had the double dogs program, which was like a 4+1 for engineering. They also offered me a scholarship, so it brought the cost down to like $37K a year, I believe, and I completely would have been able to double major with music. They assured me of that. And then Carolina is my last school. So UNC Chapel Hill was kind of always on my radar, but I did not think I would get in because out-of-state acceptance rate this year, I believe, was 10%. I did have a interview with the music department at Carolina before I was admitted. So based on my audition and my interview, they told me they like recommended the admissions department that they admit me. I also really love the fact that all of the music majors there, I think like almost all of them are double majors. I would have been able to go do chemistry and music. Also, the chemistry at UNC is rated like number 15 in the nation. I'm pretty sure it's actually tied with UT, but it's very well respected. The amazing thing about UNC that like none of these other schools offered, it is part of the research triangle, which if you don't know what that is, it's basically like a network between UNC, Duke, and North Carolina State. These are like 3 major universities that are in very close proximity to each other. Also, Carolina has inter-institutional programs with Duke and NC State, which means that you can take, I think, like up to 1 class a semester at either of those schools as a UNC student. So cons were that it was like by far the most expensive tuition. Now that being said, it was not as high as WashU or Vanderbilt, and the music department did give me a scholarship, so that was really great. Another con is that the majority of students at Carolina are in-state students, so I wasn't going to have this like huge out-of-state presence, and that might have made me feel a little bit isolated or alienated. Oh, the biggest con, the biggest con I forgot. They didn't have an engineering school. I like was gonna have to do chemistry, and like I had to do chemistry because that was like my main interest. If I wanted to switch over, the only engineering major they offered was biomedical engineering, and I wasn't really interested in biomedical, so that was kind of a risk I had to take to be able to like double major with music. I eliminated Texas A&M University as the next one. Ultimately, when it came down to it, the price difference between UGA and A&M was not big enough to justify me not going out of state, if that makes sense. And yeah, I just really wanted to go out of state. Yes, I eliminated A&M because I wanted my college experience to provide more opportunities to grow in like different ways than just going to like an in-state university would give me. So now is the time to reveal where I'm going. This is crazy, this is so weird. I'm gonna try to do a cool transition. I'm gonna snap, and then I'll be wearing like the color of the school, because I realized my school shirt for this school is literally in the wash. Anyway, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to Carolina. I'm gonna take the UGA thing off the thing. I'm going to UNC. I still can't believe it, and I'm so excited for the fall. I just got my housing assignment yesterday, and I've been talking with my roommate where I wanted to be after high school, socially, emotionally, academically. Carolina has it all. The one thing I am slightly hesitant about is the fact that they don't have an engineering school, but I also know that Carolina is going to give me the time and the opportunity to explore so many things because of its location, its proximity to Duke and NC State, which are great engineering schools, and just like really strong chemistry program and environmental focus programs. Chapel Hill is gorgeous. The area surrounding the university is gorgeous. The music people were so nice, and I really like the viola teacher there. I am so happy. Like every time I think about the fact I'm going to feasibly be able to double major, it makes me so happy, because honestly the requirements at UGA to do a music major were like more intense than the requirements to do a BA in music at UNC. I will say though, I was in the honors college at UGA and not at UNC, but I can reapply at UNC. Even though it had the more expensive tuition, I felt like going there, because the opportunities would be right for me at the right time in my life, would drive me to this point of like not only hard work but hopefully success that none of these other schools could give me. What I realized in this whole process is that literally I could have chosen any school and not every single aspect of my experience there would be perfect. Coming to that realization did a lot for me, because it really enabled me to say like, okay, I have to go to a university that has like the main things I want, a degree that can ultimately land me the job I want, also the flexibility to like explore other areas, and also to be out of state and also close to a city. Raleigh to Chapel Hill is a lot closer than Athens to Atlanta. When I looked at all of those factors and I said, okay, these are the things I have to have, and I can sacrifice on maybe not having like the engineering name on my degree and maybe having to go back to school for that, I said, okay, I'm fine with that. For right now, I'm so incredibly excited, and I feel so grateful to be able to choose UNC. After my first semester, whatever I do after that, I will be totally sure of, because I will either say, no, like chemistry is right for me, or I will say chemistry is not right for me. Now I'm totally sure that I want to do chemical engineering, or you know, doing music at this level is not right for me, or it is right for me. But like Carolina was the only place that gave me that flexibility. If you are deciding between colleges, or you are about to apply to college this upcoming year and you're nervous about it, don't worry. Once you figure it all out, you are going to have a future you have the ability to get excited for. We'll be making so many videos about how to apply to college, about UNC specifically, in the upcoming months and years, so stick around, subscribe to my channel. My person Natalie. I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Bye.